I've been in the retail industry for around 20 years now. Working in the ERP domain for the manufacturing and distribution industry in various verticals like fashion, furniture, home furnishings, building materials, and food, we experience that retail is a domain which cuts across all the verticals. Further, retail has several formats, each have their unique requirements depending upon how they set up a store, how they integrate the supply chain backwards. It needs a specialized solution, and there is a big gap in the ERP industry for such solutions. There was a need for an end-to-end solution from demand chain to the supply chain backwards, rather than being other way around. This is how the ERP industry used to think before. Customer comes first, and that's where the retail comes in. Personally, being a finance professional, I found retail very interesting since a lot of business and commercial thinking is involved throughout the retail business. Consulting in retail makes one think almost like you're running your own business. And what would you do to improve it in a certain situation, or how can you support a certain operation? And my foundation in accounting and finance taught me commercial thinking, so that it was a natural connect for me. My first realization of this aspect came in when we were dealing with some large retailers in the Middle East in the early 2000s. Maths and calculations are everywhere, and I like that the most. So this is where I built a personal connect with the retailer and to the retail industry. Of course, as we moved along, I learned that retail is not just a science, but it's also an art. It all starts with sales and merchandise planning, which drive the business. Sales planning, of course, is a top-down and a bottom-up exercise, and then the merchandisers take over. This is where the merchandisers come in with their art, and they need to look at the business not only from a sales numbers point of view, but also to ensure the right assortments and the right options at the right place at the right time. And that's where the art comes into play, and that is where the knowledge of the market, the demographics come into play, and that is where the inventory thinking comes into play as well. So whilst I have my sales, I constantly look at my inventories and see how do I balance the two, and which is where my buying plan finally comes into play. Buying plan is the one which decides what am I going to buy, for which markets, for which regions, and for which locations, right? So right product at the right place. And buying is where actually my budgets also take shape for my buying, my purchase budgets, my OTBs, what is open to buy, right? And that's where then the buying starts. Location is everything. That's another thing I have learned. So it's all about location, location, and location. Key margin measures that we look at are based on the three key factors of cost, which are my GMROI, GMROF, and GMROL. So margins reference to the major elements of cost, as simple as that. I've also seen a lot of retailers think out of the box and come up with innovative ideas. That has been really great to see in retail. For example, one of the leading retailers in India, a fashion retailer, came up with this idea of colored bottoms. Now, that was so interesting. I was also quite young at that time. And it was interesting to see the way there was an offtake in the market, the way the consumers were brought into the stores, the way the walk-ins were increased, the way, of course, the sales was increased and the branding and the brand loyalty was increased. Now, one of the retailers in India in electronics market, they come up with such innovative ideas where they come up with new brands for different segments of customers. And then, of course, that's a whole new market that they are capturing with different categories and brands gradually. Just keeps multiplying the business and the valuations. Again, something very interesting. Every time you're creating a new blue ocean for yourself. Next thing, of course, is the store floor, which is the most exciting part again. When it comes to operating the store, it's all about lots of SOPs. How well is the VM done? How do I achieve my key KPIs at the store? How best I can offer the customer service? How can I make it more and more convenient for the customer to shop? What promos do I offer? When do I offer the promos? How can I give the best shopping experience to the customer? And how fast can I help him check out, since now it should be all measured in seconds and not minutes. That's the key, and that was one of the key learnings for us as a technology company in ETP. I have been fortunate to be part of several customer engagements during my retail solutions offering journey in ETP. If I have to pick a couple of examples, I would talk about one of the leading retailers in the Middle East. This was one of the initial projects we did in early 2000, where we implemented several complex processes in a single project. We implemented a true multi-country, multi-company, multi-currency, multi-formats, I would say, retail solutions for this customer. Right from sourcing, where I'm doing imports as well as local procurements, to distribution, where I have CDCs and several regional DCs, to retailing, to accounting, to the business intelligence. So it's like an end-to-end solution. The project helped in getting direct visibility of sales, better follow through in implementing planned promotions, improving replenishments, improving sales, make better margins. Quite a great project actually. If I have to look at different unique characteristics of different segments, I would also bring in the angle of store formats over here, because end of the day, each segment comes with different store formats, and that's where again, I would say the matrix comes into play, and it brings its own dynamism. Same brand can be sold in a standalone store, and it can also be sold in a department store. To add to it, a store can be an own store, it can be a franchisee, or it can be a mix of both. It can be a company owned, company operated, company owned, franchise operated. So there are lots of complex variations over here. It's a complex requirement, and that is how we look at the business processes, and at ETP we help our customers to implement the right solution. So if you look at some of the projects where there can be a complexity of having a POS, a CRM and inventory management, right? So if I take an example, we actually did a very good project in Indonesia for a customer where we had the POS platform, where the group loyalty program was implemented, coexisting with the brand specific programs and initiatives. And then on top of it, once the platform was ready, we built the Omni-channel solution, which then integrated with several marketplaces. So this also involves multiple OMS layers, as well as depends upon different dynamics based on those. I've covered a few project examples related to omni-channel retailing a while ago. Some of the challenges involved in such projects are like setting up of right SOPs for the omni-channel business. Omni-channel being relatively new for the retailers raises several questions and brings in several open items in the process decisions. We have seen that operations need to address those, and retailers are working towards that. Classic examples are how to motivate the staff to fulfill online orders on time, to accord priority to online order fulfillments along with the offline business. How will the incentives be shared within the staff for the omni-channel business? There is BOPIS, ROFIS, ship from store, anywhere returns. So there are lots of processes involved, and the staff needs to be clear how they are incentivized. When is the right time to incorporate and invest in an OMS layer in the technology stack? Fortunately, at ETP, with our own offering of Ordazzle OMS, it has made it very easier for us to provide an end-to-end technology solution to our customers for omni-channel. Consolidation of click and collect orders, items across stores, that's another challenge retailers face. Last mile logistics integration and the commercial model around it, that's another aspect. Buffer stock management decisions to take care of out of stock situations and getting better order fulfillment rates, meeting different marketplace requirements. So these are some of the omni-channel related challenges that we see. If I have to look at some of the technological changes which have happened over the past decade or so, one of the key things, of course, what we have seen is that the whole retail industry has moved from a single channel to a multi-channel to omni-channel, and now eCommerce. This has been a great journey. The technology has always been on its toes all the time to make things as real time as possible, and a lot goes with that. We have been watching the offline to online and the web POS transition since year 2005 approximately. Again, it's been an interesting journey to see how the pioneers and the early adopters who entered in this area went about doing it. But of course, now is when the market is really picking up and getting ready for it. And that's where we are also ready for the same at ETP. Clearly, we see that now the industry is getting ready for the web POS. We at ETP are already on it and very much ready. With eCommerce taking shape, easy and seamless in collaboration between different layers of the solution is the key. We are addressing that requirement for our customers. They can have a single platform which is natively integrated for all their core business processes and needs. Basically, just like we brought POS as a platform into the retail industry in early 2000, and integrated it across the systems. That's where we filled in the gap, where peripheral systems can always be integrated on top of it, like the CRM or specific solutions. But similarly, now we have a Unicommerce platform which will meet the future industry requirements. We are enabling our solution with AI use cases, and it will only grow and get deeper and deeper into the ETP applications as we go along.